I woke up to the sound of people crying. But what shocked me most was hearing my own name in the obituary. They said I was dead. My son stood there, pretending to wipe his tears, but I saw the insurance papers in his hand, and my forged signature. That's when I realized. My death was never an accident. It was a plan. I woke up in a cold, dark hospital room with a paper tag tied around my wrist. My heart pounded as I read what was written on it. Deceased, Margaret Collins. Deceased. Me? I could feel the air in my lungs, the pain in my chest, the fear crawling up my throat. I was alive. But according to the world, I was dead. Tears rolled down my face as I tried to call out for help. But my voice was weak and my body felt numb. Then I heard voices outside the room. 2 doctors talking. Her son already signed all the documents. Insurance cleared. Body will be moved tomorrow morning, one said. My heart stopped for a second. My son? Daniel? He signed the documents? The second doctor replied. Yes, the insurance money's already processed. He said she passed 2 weeks ago. Poor man. 2 weeks ago? I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My son, the boy I carried for 9 long months, the boy I raised after his father died, had forged my death. And now the hospital believed I was gone. My mind raced as I lay there, pretending to still be unconscious. I remembered the day he came to me with a paper, asking for my signature, to fix his car insurance. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks before the world thought I was dead. My hands trembled as I realized it. Daniel had forged my signature for insurance. And now I was the insurance. I wanted to cry, to call his name, but everything went black again. That was the night I was declared dead, while still breathing. 2 weeks ago, before everything went wrong. It started on a bright Monday morning in Maplewood. I was sitting by the window, knitting a small blue sweater for my granddaughter, Emma. The birds were chirping, and the smell of fresh bread from the bakery down the street filled my little living room. Life was peaceful then. I had just turned 68, and though my bones ached, my heart was happy. My son Daniel visited often, though lately he looked troubled. He was 35, tall like his late father, but his eyes, they carried a heaviness I couldn't explain. Mom, he said one morning, walking into the house with a fake smile. Can you sign something for me? Just a small thing for my car insurance. I smiled back. Car insurance? You know I trust you, Daniel. Give it here. He placed a few papers in front of me. I didn't have my reading glasses at that moment, so I didn't look too closely. I simply signed where he pointed. He hugged me after that, tighter than usual. Thank you, Mom. You're the best. If only I had known that signature would later become my death certificate. Days passed, and Daniel's visits grew fewer. He stopped answering my calls and didn't even come when Emma brought me soup. I started to worry. Something felt wrong, but I didn't know what. Then one evening, I fainted while watering my garden. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital. The nurse said I had collapsed from exhaustion. But when I asked to call my son, she said, "Your son already made all the arrangements, ma'am. He told us everything was handled." Arrangements? What arrangements? I asked, confused. She frowned, looking at the chart beside my bed. Oh my, you shouldn't be awake. I'll call the doctor. Before she left, I caught a glimpse of the paper at the foot of my bed. It had my name, Margaret Collins, time of death, 10:45 p.m. I screamed, but no one believed I was alive. My voice was weak, my pulse faint. They thought I was confused. Then, a man in a black suit came to the room that evening. He looked around quietly, holding a thick envelope. He placed it on the bedside table, muttered, "The payment's complete," and left. I wanted to sit up, to shout that I was alive, but my body wouldn't move. My world faded in and out like a bad dream. That night, I remembered something strange. 2 weeks earlier, Daniel had come home crying. "Mom, I lost my job," he said, sitting on the couch. "And the bank's about to take my house. I don't know what to do." I held his hands. "We'll figure it out together. You've always been strong." He looked into my eyes with tears. "You've always helped me, Mom. I'm so sorry." I didn't understand what he meant then. But now, lying in that hospital bed, I finally did. He hadn't just taken my signature. He'd taken my life to save his. But fate had other plans. That night, lightning struck the hospital's main power source. The lights flickered off for a few minutes and chaos broke out. Nurses ran through the halls, alarms blaring. In the confusion, one young nurse, barely 20, entered my room with a flashlight. When the light hit my face, she gasped. "She's breathing." Her voice echoed in the darkness. A doctor rushed in, checking my pulse again. "This can't be right," she was declared dead. "She's alive," the nurse cried. "She's alive." They moved quickly, trying to stabilize me, but I could see fear in their eyes. Someone had made a terrible mistake, or something much darker was going on. When I finally regained enough strength to whisper, I said, "Call my son, tell him I'm alive." But the nurse's face turned pale. "Ma'am," she said softly, "your son already collected your insurance money." My heart shattered like glass. Daniel had declared me dead, forged my signature, and claimed my life insurance. And now I was back from the dead. I looked up at the ceiling as tears rolled down my cheeks. "Why, Daniel?" I whispered. "Why?" The doctor stepped closer. "Mrs. Collins, you can't leave the hospital yet. This case is complicated. We need to confirm everything." But I knew deep inside, I had to leave. I needed to face my son and find out why he betrayed me. I needed answers, and I was ready to get them, even if it meant walking into danger. That night, when everyone thought I was asleep, I slowly removed the four from my arm. My body shook, but my mind was clear. I wrapped a blanket around myself and crept out of the room. Outside the hospital window, rain poured heavily. I could barely see, but I had one goal: find Daniel. As I stepped into the rain, barefoot and shivering, a voice suddenly whispered behind me, "Going somewhere, Mrs. Collins?" I froze. Standing at the gate was a man in a dark coat, the same man who had dropped the envelope in my room earlier. He smiled slowly and held up a phone. "Your son wouldn't want you walking around," he said. "After all, dead people shouldn't be out at night." My breath caught in my throat. "Who are you?" I whispered. He took a step closer, his eyes cold. "Let's just say, I make sure people stay dead when they're supposed to." My heart pounded as I turned to run. But before I could take another step, headlights flashed across the gate. A familiar voice shouted my name. "Mom!" It was Daniel. But the look on his face wasn't of love. It was fear. And in that moment, I realized he wasn't there to save me. He was there to finish what he started. The rain poured harder, drumming against the hospital gate like 1,000 angry hands. My heart thumped in my chest as Daniel stepped out of his car, his eyes wide and cold. The man in the black coat turned to him and smirked. "She's awake," the man said quietly. "I told you this would be a problem." Daniel looked at me, his mother standing there soaked, trembling, and weak. And for a long moment he said nothing. The silence between us was louder than thunder. "Daniel," I whispered, my voice cracking. "You told them I was dead." He looked down, his jaw tightening. "Mom, please get in the car. You shouldn't be out here." "Answer me," I shouted, my voice breaking. "Why, Daniel? Why would you do this to me?" The man in the coat chuckled. "We should go before someone sees her." Daniel's eyes darted between me and the man. I could see the war inside him, guilt, fear, confusion. But before he could speak, the man grabbed my arm roughly. "Let's go, Mrs. Collins," he hissed. "You're not supposed to be alive." I screamed, trying to pull away, but his grip was strong. Daniel stepped forward and shouted, "Let her go." The man froze and turned to him. "Don't be foolish, Daniel. You already took the money. You knew the deal." My eyes widened. "Deal? What deal?" Daniel's lips trembled. "Mom, please, it wasn't supposed to be like this." I tried to take a step back, but my knees buckled. The world spun around me. I could hear Daniel's voice shouting, "Don't touch her," before everything went dark again. When I woke up, I was lying on a couch in a dimly lit room. The smell of damp wood and old fabric filled my nose. My head ached, and my wrists were tied with rough rope. "Where am I?" I murmured. A familiar voice answered from the corner. "Safe for now." It was Daniel. His hair was wet, his shirt stained with mud. He sat with his face in his hands, trembling. Daniel, I whispered. What have you done? He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. I didn't mean for this to happen, Mom. I was desperate. I lost my job, the bank was taking the house, and Emma needed school fees. I tried everything. So you decided to sell your own mother's life? I said bitterly, my heart heavy. He shook his head, crying. No, Mom. I just signed some papers for a small insurance policy. The man said it was harmless, just business. I didn't know they'd mark you dead. I swear. I stared at him in disbelief. And you believed him? You didn't even read what you signed. Daniel dropped his face into his hands again. I didn't think it would go this far. When they declared you dead, I tried to stop it, but they said it was too late. They gave me the money and told me to keep quiet. I tried to loosen the ropes on my wrists, but they were too tight. Then why am I here, tied up? He hesitated. Because they're watching me, Mom. The man you saw, his name is Victor. He's from the insurance company, but not the normal kind. He works with people who fake deaths to cash out policies. And if they find out you're alive, they'll kill us both. The words sent chills down my spine. Daniel, what have you gotten us into? He moved closer, lowering his voice. I'm going to fix it. I just need a little time. Please trust me. I looked at him, searching for the little boy I once knew. The one who used to hug me every morning before school. The one who promised to take care of me when I grew old. But all I saw was a broken man, swallowed by guilt and fear. Daniel, I said softly, you can't fix lies with more lies. The truth will always come out. He nodded slowly. I know, but right now the truth will get us killed. Hours passed. The wind howled outside, and rain tapped against the window like ghostly fingers. I could barely move, but my mind was racing. I had to escape. Daniel had fallen asleep on the chair beside me, exhausted. His phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a message. Victor, move the body tonight. Someone's asking questions. My heart nearly stopped. Move the body. They still thought I was dead. Quietly, I slid my hand toward the edge of the couch and grabbed a piece of broken glass lying nearby. I began cutting the rope around my wrist, careful not to make a sound. Then a knock echoed at the door. 3 slow knocks. Daniel stirred. Who's that? He mumbled, rubbing his eyes. Another knock. Harder this time. He got up and walked to the door. Who is it? No answer. He turned the handle slightly, and the door burst open. Victor stormed in, holding a gun. Where is she? He barked. Daniel stepped in front of me. She's gone. I took care of it. Victor's eyes narrowed. Liar. The hospital called. The doctor reported movement on her monitor before it went offline. He raised the gun at Daniel. You had one job, make sure she stayed dead. I froze, clutching the broken glass behind my back. Victor, please, Daniel begged. I'll fix it. I'll give you the money back. Victor smirked. Too late. And before I could scream, he pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the small cabin. Daniel fell backward, blood spreading across his shirt. I screamed and lunged forward, but Victor turned the gun toward me. You should have stayed dead, Mrs. Collins. I felt my hand tremble as I gripped the broken glass tighter. I may be old, I said through my tears, but I'm not helpless. I swung the glass with all my strength, cutting across his hand. The gun fell to the floor. He yelled in pain as I kicked it under the couch. We struggled, crashing into the table, knocking over a lamp. Sparks flew, and the curtain caught fire. The room filled with smoke as I crawled toward Daniel, who was barely breathing. Mom, he whispered weakly. Run. No, I'm not leaving you again, I cried. Victor grabbed me by the hair, pulling me back. You'll both burn here. Problem solved. But just as the flames rose, a loud siren blared outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the window. Police, a voice shouted. Drop your weapon. Victor froze. His face twisted in rage. Then he darted toward the back door. But before he could escape, an officer kicked it open and tackled him to the ground. I collapsed beside Daniel, shaking. Hold on, son, I whispered. Help is here. He looked at me, his eyes full of tears. Mom, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I held his hand, crying. Don't talk. You'll be fine." As the officers rushed in and dragged Victor away, I felt my heart ache, not just from fear, but from pain and love all tangled together. For the first time, I realized something deeper than betrayal. Daniel wasn't evil. He was lost. And as the ambulance siren wailed into the distance, I made a silent promise to myself. I would not let my son's sin destroy him. But fate wasn't done with us yet. Because the next morning, as I sat beside Daniel's hospital bed, a nurse handed me an envelope addressed to Mrs. Margaret Collins, in case of death confirmation. Inside there was a single photo of me, lying dead in the hospital bed 2 weeks ago. And written behind it were the chilling words, "This isn't over." The photo trembled in my hands. I stared at it for a long time, my face pale and still, tubes running into my nose, a white tag tied around my wrist. It looked exactly like a body prepared for the morgue. But I was alive, breathing, heart beating. So who took this photo? And why send it now, after Victor had been arrested? My fingers shook as I turned the picture over again. The words on the back, "This isn't over," felt like a whisper crawling into my ear. I looked up and saw Daniel lying unconscious in the hospital bed beside me. His chest rose and fell weakly, his face bandaged, his lips dry. He had lost a lot of blood, but the doctors said he would live. I sighed deeply. "Oh, Daniel," I murmured. "What have you dragged us into?" A soft knock came at the door. It was Officer Bennett, a tall, calm man with kind eyes. He had been the one who burst into the cabin last night and saved us from Victor. "Mrs. Collins," he said gently, stepping inside. "How are you feeling this morning?" "I've been better," I replied, forcing a smile. "But thank you for coming when you did. If you hadn't, my son and I would both be dead." He nodded. "We caught Victor trying to flee the scene. He's in custody now, but there's something strange. When we searched his car, we found a stack of forged insurance documents, all in different names. You weren't the only one, Mrs. Collins." My eyes widened. "You mean there are others?" "Yes," he said. "People declared dead while still alive. It's a whole ring of fake death scams. But there's more. Victor wasn't working alone. Someone higher up was giving the orders." I felt a chill run through me. "And you think they sent me this photo?" He glanced at the picture in my hand, frowning. "Probably. It's a warning. They don't like loose ends, especially ones that come back from the dead." Later that evening, after the officers left, I sat quietly beside Daniel's bed thinking. The room was dim except for the faint glow of the monitor. Every beep reminded me that he was still alive, still my son, no matter what he had done. I reached for his hand and whispered, "You made a mistake, but you're still my boy. And I'll protect you. Always." Suddenly his fingers twitched. I leaned closer. "Mom," he croaked weakly. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm here," I said, holding his hand tight. He blinked slowly, trying to focus. "Victor. He wasn't the one who planned it. There's someone else. Someone who made me sign the papers." "Who?" I asked quickly. "Tell me, Daniel." He swallowed hard. "Her name's Claire. She said she worked at the insurance office. She promised she'd help me fix my debts. But it was a lie, Mom. All of it." "Claire." I repeated. "What else do you remember about her?" "She used to call me from a blocked number," he said, wincing in pain. "She knew everything about us, even Emma's school. She said she could make everything disappear if I just signed those papers." I felt my heart sink. "Oh dear Lord." Daniel coughed weakly. "Mom, you have to protect Emma. Please. If they find out you're alive, they'll come for her next." I froze. My granddaughter, innocent, sweet, barely 10 years old. She didn't deserve any of this. I placed my hand on his forehead. "Don't worry about Emma. I'll keep her safe. You just rest now." He closed his eyes, and within minutes he was asleep again. That night, I sat in the hospital hallway, staring out the window. The rain had stopped, but the streets glistened under the dim yellow lights. I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept circling back to one question. Who was this Claire? Suddenly my phone buzzed. I picked it up, expecting it to be Officer Bennett. But the number was hidden. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A woman's voice came through, smooth and calm. Mrs. Collins. I see you've received my little gift. My heart skipped a beat. Who is this? She chuckled softly. You know who I am. Let's just say, I prefer people who stay dead, once declared so. I felt my hands tremble. What do you want from me? You're interfering, she said coldly. Victor was supposed to handle things quietly, but now because of you the police are sniffing around. I can't have that. I'm not afraid of you, I said, trying to sound brave. Good, she said. Because fear isn't what I want from you. I want cooperation. What kind of cooperation? Simple, she replied. You'll tell the police that Victor acted alone, that your son knew nothing. In return, you and your family will be safe. Refuse, and little Emma might not make it to her next birthday. I gasped. Don't you dare touch my granddaughter. Her voice remained calm, almost gentle. Then do as I say. You have 24 hours. The line went dead. My whole body shook. I wanted to scream, to cry, but I couldn't. My heart ached with helpless anger. For the first time, I understood what true fear felt like. Not for myself, but for the people I loved. The next morning, I went to Officer Bennett's office. He looked surprised to see me. Mrs. Collins? You should be resting. I can't rest, I said. I have something to tell you. I told him everything about the call, about Claire, about the threats. He listened carefully, his face growing darker with each word. That confirms what we suspected. There's someone higher, someone running the operation. And if she knows where your granddaughter goes to school, we need to act fast. He picked up the phone and gave a few quick orders. Then he turned back to me. We'll put an officer outside your home, and another near Emma's school. You're under protection now, Mrs. Collins. I nodded, tears filling my eyes. Thank you, officer. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. People like Claire didn't stop until they got what they wanted. That evening, I returned home for the first time since the hospital. Everything looked the same, the knitted blankets, the family photos, the old rocking chair. But something in the air felt wrong. Cold. Heavy. As I stepped into the living room, I froze. On the coffee table sat a small white envelope. No name, no stamp, just sitting there waiting. I slowly opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message typed neatly in black ink. You should have listened. And below it, a photo of Emma, taken that morning, outside her school. My knees went weak. The phone slipped from my hand. Someone had been there, watching her. I ran to the window and pulled the curtain aside, and that's when I saw it. A black car parked across the street, engine running, tinted windows. Then my phone buzzed again. A message. Unknown number. TikTok, Grandma. 24 hours. My hands trembled. I whispered, Dear God, please protect my family. But before I could move, headlights flashed outside, and the black car door opened. A figure stepped out, tall, wearing a coat, holding something shiny in their hand. And when the streetlight hit their face, I froze in shock. It wasn't Claire. It was someone I knew. Someone I trusted. Someone who was never supposed to be part of this. The streetlight flickered as the figure stepped out of the car, rain dripping from the edges of their coat. My heart stopped when I saw the face. It was Mark, Daniel's best friend. The same Mark who used to come over every Sunday, laughing and fixing things around my house. The same one who had comforted me after my husband's funeral, telling me Daniel was like a brother to him. I froze by the window, unable to breathe. He looked straight at my house and smiled. That same gentle smile I once trusted. But this time, it felt wrong. Cold. Empty. Slowly he raised his phone and sent a message. A second later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Let's talk, Grandma. No police. Just you and me. I backed away from the window, my legs trembling. What did Mark have to do with Claire? Why was he part of this? Then another message came. I wouldn't scream if I were you. Emma's school bus hasn't left yet. My breath caught in my throat. He knew where Emma was. He knew everything. I didn't think. I grabbed my coat and ran out the back door, dialing Officer Bennett as I went. Officer. Mark, Daniel's friend, he's outside my house. He's one of them. Stay where you are, Mrs. Collins, he said firmly. We're sending a unit right now. But I couldn't stay. Not when Emma was in danger. I ran down the street. Rain soaking my clothes, heart pounding. Every step echoed with one thought. I have to save her. When I turned the corner, I saw the black car following me slowly, its headlights glowing through the fog. Then I heard a voice behind me. Going somewhere, Margaret? I spun around. Mark stood there, calm, holding an umbrella. His smile never faded. You shouldn't run, he said softly. It only makes things worse. Why are you doing this? I shouted, shaking. You were supposed to be family. He tilted his head. Family? That's funny. You think Daniel never told me about the money? About how desperate he was. Claire came to him first, but she came to me next. I just made sure things went smoothly. My stomach turned. You helped fake my death? He nodded slowly. You were supposed to stay gone, Margaret. But you just couldn't die quietly, could you? Tears blurred my vision. You'll never get away with this. He stepped closer, his tone dropping to a whisper. I already have. Before I could react, he grabbed my wrist, twisting it painfully. I tried to pull free, but he was stronger. Then from behind us a voice shouted, "Let her go." Officer Bennett stood there, gun drawn, red and blue lights flashing behind him. 2 police cars blocked the road. Mark's grip tightened. You brought them? They followed you. I gasped. Drop the weapon. Bennett ordered. Mark pulled out a small pistol from inside his coat and aimed it at me. My breath hitched. You don't want to do this, Mark, Bennett warned. Put it down. Mark laughed softly. You don't understand. She's worth more dead than alive. In a flash, Bennett fired. The bullet hit Mark's arm, and he fell backward with a cry, dropping the gun. Officers rushed forward and pinned him to the ground. I fell to my knees, sobbing. My heart felt like it would burst. Bennett ran to me. You're safe now, Mrs. Collins. But as they dragged Mark to the car, he looked back at me and smirked. You think this ends with me? He sneered. Claire's already moving on. She's taking what's hers. You can't stop her. His words echoed in my head long after the police took him away. That night I couldn't sleep. Even though Mark was in custody, I knew the real danger wasn't over. Claire was still out there, watching, waiting. When I finally dozed off, I dreamed of Emma's voice calling me. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. Something felt wrong. I picked up my phone to check on Daniel. But there was a message waiting for me. From an unknown number. You saved your son once. Can you do it again? Attached was a live video feed. Daniel was in a dark room, tied to a chair. A shadowy figure stood behind him. Then the voice, cold and smooth, came through the phone. Good morning, Mrs. Collins. It's Claire. I warned you to keep quiet. Now we finish what we started. My whole body shook. Leave him alone. I cried. Please, he's my son. Then come alone, she said. Tonight. Midnight. Old River Warehouse. The video ended. I stared at the screen, terrified but determined. I had lost everything once before. My peace, my safety, my trust. I wouldn't lose my son again. I looked at the clock. 11:30. 30 minutes to midnight. I took a deep breath, grabbed my coat, and whispered to myself, this ends tonight. The Old River Warehouse stood by the edge of town, silent and cold under the moonlight. The broken windows looked like dark eyes staring into my soul. I pushed the rusty door open slowly, the hinges groaning in protest. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of oil. My footsteps echoed on the concrete floor. Daniel. I called softly. It's me, Mom. A muffled groan came from the far corner. My heart leapt. I followed the sound and saw him, tied to a chair, his face bruised, eyes swollen. Mom, he whispered. I ran to him, cutting the ropes with a piece of metal lying nearby. It's okay, baby. I've got you. Then from the shadows a voice said calmly, touch him again, and I'll make sure neither of you leaves this place alive. Claire stepped out, wearing a sleek black coat, her red lips curling into a smile. Her eyes were cold and sharp like glass. So the dead woman walks again, she said mockingly. You should have stayed in the grave, Mrs. Collins. You ruined everything. I stood tall, trying not to show fear. You tricked my son. You made him believe he could save his family by destroying me. She shrugged. People do foolish things when they're desperate. You raised him. You should know that. I clenched my fists. You used us. But it ends tonight. Claire smiled faintly and pulled out a small pistol from her coat. Oh, I agree. It does end tonight. Just then, I heard a sound outside. A faint crunch of gravel. Claire turned toward the door, distracted. I took the chance and pushed Daniel toward the exit. Run! I shouted. She fired. The bullet whizzed past me, grazing my arm. Pain shot through me, but I kept moving. Daniel stumbled toward the door, but Claire aimed again. You think you can protect him? She hissed. He's the reason you're here. I turned, clutching my bleeding arm. Maybe. But he's also the reason I'm still fighting. Then, before she could fire again, a flash of light filled the room. Police! Drop your weapon! Officer Bennett and his team stormed in, guns raised. Claire froze, her hand trembling slightly. Don't move, Claire. Bennett barked. It's over. But Claire just smiled. You think you've won? In one swift motion, she raised the gun, but before she could shoot, Bennett fired. The bullet hit her shoulder, and she fell to the ground, screaming in pain. The gun slid across the floor, stopping right at my feet. I picked it up and looked down at her. You destroyed families, stole lives, and called it business. She looked up at me, hatred burning in her eyes. You're just another number, old woman. There'll be others after me. I handed the gun to Bennett. Then we'll stop them one by one. The officers dragged her away as she cursed and screamed. Daniel sank to the floor sobbing. Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. I knelt beside him, cradling his face in my hands. Sure. It's over now. We're alive. That's what matters. He hugged me tightly, his tears soaking my shoulder. You should have given up on me, but you didn't. I smiled through my tears. A mother never gives up on her child, even when the world thinks she's dead. Weeks later, the news reported that Claire's entire insurance crime ring had been exposed. Dozens of lives saved. Families reunited. Daniel began working with the police as a witness to help bring down others involved. It was his way of making things right. One sunny afternoon, I sat on my porch with Emma, watching her play with her doll. The birds sang again, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. She ran to me giggling. Grandma, tell me a story. I smiled, pulling her close. One day, sweetheart, I will. But for now, let's just enjoy being alive. As she ran back to play, I looked at the horizon and whispered, Thank you, Lord, for giving me one more chance. Because sometimes, life doesn't end when they declare you dead. Sometimes it begins again, stronger, wiser, and braver. And that was the day I learned the truest lesson of all. Family isn't about perfection, it's about forgiveness. I thought I had seen the worst, but that night, someone knocked on my door whispering, You weren't supposed to survive. My heart froze. Who could it be? My son, or the person who helped him? Speech balloon, tell me. What would you do if your own child tried to erase you from the world? Don't forget to subscribe. The next chapter will leave you speechless.